Peace and Black Power family. You already know what it is. We are here, Sonetta Studios in the building. And Napah, we're going to start with you. Where do you want to take this conversation?
Well, first I want to say welcome to Vocab and all of his wonderful friends, and Christian, Kemetic, all together. And speaking of Christian and Kemetic, I'd like to just jump right into talking about the foundation of the Bible being Kemetic. So in my research I found that, I'm not even going to say it's influenced, there is a lot in the Torah showing me that, look at him getting his Bible ready, come on, that's good.
Well,
showing me that Kemet is the foundation of, especially the Torah, if not the entire Bible.
Do you guys think so?
No, we've discovered so.
No.
So Vocab, welcome. What do you think about that?
Well, I want to know why we eliminated all those gods.
Right.
Yeah.
Did we eliminate those gods?
You tell me, because
I don't think so. That's a good segue.
I got an index here
Okay.
of all the gods
Here we go.
listed in the Book of the Dead, and it's a hella long list.
Okay.
And I don't remember seeing any of those kind of characters in the Bible, so why did we eliminate all the gods of Kemet if it's essentially a ripoff of Kemet?
I didn't say ripoff.
Or whatever you would like to call it.
Well, me being a Hebrew Israelite and a Christian, I wouldn't call it a ripoff. What I'm noticing is there's not the stark difference that I used to believe before I started looking deeper. And about the gods, what I'm seeing is a representation of HATHOR, the goddess Hathor, in the, especially in the Torah and the Tanakh. So she does transform into Sekhmet. So HATHOR/Sekhmet and Set. So we can focus right now on HATHOR. If you go to, we'll leave Sarabit al-Qadim alone for a minute, Mount Sinai, where the temple of Hathor is. But if you go into Exodus chapter 38, verse 8, you will see, I'll let you get there, you will see that that verse says that the women offered their mirrors for the temple, you know, and in ancient Kemet, women offered their mirrors to the goddess Hathor. So when you asked about all those gods are in there, but it's more occult, if not esoteric. So
because you believe that, do you believe that the Hebrew women are offering their mirrors to Yahweh?
I don't believe it. It's in the verse.
Which verse says they're offering their mirrors to Yahweh?
No, not to Yahweh. You have to understand that the scripture, it's not going to explicitly say, and they were offering their mirrors to the god Hathor.
Well, does it say that in the Kemetic text, though, that they're offering their mirrors to the goddess?
They offer their mirrors in worship.
So it's explicit there,
yes.
but it's not explicit in the Bible, but yet you know it's in both places.
It's not explicit that it's to Hathor, but it is explicit that the women specifically are offering mirrors specifically for the temple to the Most High. So the mirrors were given, and it's mentioned also. So that shows that it's significant. It's mentioned in the text. But before, so hold that verse. I just want to preface this with what I've spoken on before. When you read the story of the Exodus, Moses takes the people to the Mount Sinai, to the Sinai Peninsula. They actually are at the temple of Hathor. That is where the temple of one temple of Hathor is at Sarabit al-Qadim, and that is in the Sinai Peninsula. There was copper mining there, turquoise mining there. That's significant as well because there's a lot of mention of copper being used for the temple, and also not to mention the brass serpent on the staff. So I digress on that. But I'm going back to HATHOR, Het Haru. Serbit al-Qadim, when Moses didn't come down, the people said, well, who, where's this man Moses who led us out of Kemet? He's not around anymore. Let us make a God to worship. Now that is interpreted, when you read it, they first mention Moses isn't here. Moses isn't here. So then they say, we need to make a God. So it can be interpreted that they are replacing Moses. The God that the image that they make is, you could say it. What do they make?
Oh, you want the calf, the bull?
Golden calf. It's not a bull. It does not say bull. It says golden calf. And being in that Sinai Peninsula.
Thanks. Would you be able to take that to him over there, please?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Being in the Sinai Peninsula.
Thanks.
Being in close proximity, if not. Now, I was told, I can't really verify this information because the person who said it was misleading, I believe. But the temple is on the mountain of Serbit al-Qadim, but regardless of that, whether it's in the mountain or not, it definitely is in the Sinai Peninsula. So we have Temple of HATHOR, Serbit al-Qadim. We have the construction of the idol, the god, golden calf, and then we have mentioned in the in chapter 38, women offering their mirrors, just as they've offered their mirrors to Het Haru. So that was a lot. So I'll let you go ahead and address that, because you were saying, where are the gods? Not showing explicitly, but definitely occult, and very significant correlations, comparisons are present in those scriptures. So
yeah, so where are the gods? A lot of people, when they use something like, say, budge, they'll cross-reference it with a modern translation because he makes some mistakes. But he has a helpful index at the back. This is page 320 of volume 2 of Egyptian deities. And it starts on page 320 and it goes all the way to page 344. And so it's pretty extensive, right? These are all deities in ancient Egypt, and he shows the form. I skipped a page. And then you open up this, and you see Yahweh. And you're trying to tell us some of these guys snuck in here, even though it doesn't explicitly state it. You're going to have to show that they snuck in there. So the first example you gave was the mirrors.
right.
So when we read it, it says this: He made the basins of bronze and its stand of bronze from the mirrors of the ministering women who ministered in the entrance of the tent of meeting. So this is temple service performed by women. The Canaanites had temples. They would have ministering women, and they were prostitutes.
Right. But did
The Israelites
come
were
out of
forbidden.
Canaan?
The Israelites were forbidden from that.
But did the Israelites
They were
come out of
forbidden
Canaan?
that. They didn't come out of Canaan.
I have to interject because I want to
No,
say
I
this.
didn't say they did, but I'm giving an example.
But this
I'm
is the
giving
thing.
an example.
People always go to Canaanites, Babylonians, but the Israelites came out of Kemet. So let's stick with
It's a
Kemet.
little simple because this is a book that the Israelites carried, and it's been through multiple places, not just Egypt.
So
they have a lot of cultural neighbors, and they have a lot of cultural influences, but they don't have the gods you're saying are in here. And when you read this, it's just talking about women ministering in the temple. They're not having sex with people. They're forbidden from doing that. This is temple
I didn't say
prostitution,
sex.
but it's forbidden. And it doesn't even say that they're offering the mirrors to Yahweh. You just found the word mirror, and we're telling us, oh, well, they're offering these mirrors to Yahweh. It says nothing of the sort. And if let's say you're right, why offer mirrors to Yahweh? Because I know why animals are sacrificed. It's to pay for sin. You got the atonement offerings, you got different kinds of animals. We know, we're told it's for atonement, for example. Mirrors, why?
Well,
So
that's a good question.
does Yahweh need to look at himself? What's the reason? There has to be a logical connection other than you just saying, I found a connection because
Right.
mirror.
Well,
also, you're going to have to go back one further step. You're going to have to show us that people offered mirrors to Heru.
Got it. Het Haru.
Well, whoever, whenever, wherever.
Hathor. Well, we could just say Hathor.
Because I see this, but where's this evidence that they gave? So, and when did they do it? And was it all? And how do you know it influenced Israelites? If so, but just because the word mirrors is there, that's like literally finding one word and then drawing a connection, you know, from it.
Okay. Well,
this is not how we do things if we're really serious with the text, you know?
Okay. All right. Well, first off, I want to reiterate that whenever someone who's a Bible apologist, someone who's defending the story, trying to separate it from Kemet, they always go to every single culture that can possibly be compared. But the thing is, the text, again, going to the text, it says Kemet, and that they lived there for hundreds of years. So bringing up Canaan, and even if you start bringing up any other culture, it's like you are, using a red herring. You're diverting our attention away from the fact that it's Kemet. They came out of Kemet. So we can understand from reading the text that it is a Kemetic influence. It doesn't say they came out of Babylon. It says Kemet. It doesn't say they came out of Canaan. They came out of Kemet. So I'd like to just point that out. Every time you talk to someone, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it's like they didn't come out of those cultures. And I get it about all the other influences, but see, that's a whole different conversation. So we need to stick with what I was mentioning. Now, about you saying why, that's a good question. Why would they? Why would they offer their mirrors to Yahweh? Because it's not Yahweh. It's actually an influence of Hathor. Now, let me point this out. Did this particular, I'm saying the story. I'm not saying does Moses exist or not. But if Moses existed, he wanted to worship a new way. He wanted to do monotheistic religion. He wanted to do monotheistic worship. So he said, we're not going to worship all these gods anymore of Kemet. So you're right. We're going to worship one God. And the God that we're going to worship is the God that my Midianite father-in-law taught me, which, by the way, that's a Kenite God, Yahweh, since we're talking about other nations. But I digress. He said, we're going to worship this God named Yahweh. We're not going to call him El anymore. We're not going to call him El Elyon like we did with the Canaanites. We're coming out of Kemet. We're doing our new thing. Brings to mind Akhenaten, but again, I don't want to digress too much.
Yes.
I'm almost done. So you said, why would they do that? Exactly. Because it is Kemetic. They were literally doing the worship that they do to Hathor. Hathor, and I'm going to get it, my phone froze. You said, show me the proof. Hathor, Het-Heru, is the goddess of beauty, fertility, love, fun, so to speak, and the women would offer mirrors to her. And why would God want these women?
Well, I know the answer.
You're saying...
I know the answer.
Go ahead.
But so let's do this.
Go ahead.
The chapter you wanted us to go to, which is Exodus 38, right?
Verse 8.
Right. Do you know the context of that chapter? What's happening in that chapter?
They're creating the temple.
Right.
Yes.
So what else is going in there? All kinds of furniture, right? So they're literally constructing the temple.
Yes, not a mirror.
These are bronze mirrors.
No, they were mirrors that were offered, but it was to construct the laver.
And there's a Hebrew word associated with this, tesaba, and it literally means to assemble.
Yes, but they assembled the laver of brass.
Yeah, but it's showing you that they're building these things. Women have built these, then they bring them into the temple. That has nothing to do with offering. If what you're saying is true, you'd have to show where there's a ceremony or something like that, where they say, bring your mirrors before God. Because they have that for sheep with the Passover, the lamb, right?
Yeah.
That's in there, right?
Okay.
It tells you why. It tells you what, when, all that kind of stuff. Tells you the month. This is not some ritualistic ceremony that the Israelites do on a regular basis for their God. This is you know why this is only in here once? Because they only built the temple this time. This is I'm not saying there's only one temple. I'm saying this is the time we get the explicit detail of the Israelites building the temple. This is only these ministering women are only mentioned one at a time in 1 Samuel 11. And we know they're not temple prostitutes because Eli was killed later on for having this go on during his reign. So it's none of the things that you're interjecting or thinking might be in there. And all you got to do is read the headings: making the altar of burnt offering, making the court, materials for the tabernacle, making the priestly garments. Our Hebrews like friends like that part, right?
Can you read it?
And then in verse 40, they erect the temple. This isn't some ceremony where they're bringing mirrors to a god.
Okay.
If it is, it doesn't say anything about Yahweh. It doesn't say anything about deity. It doesn't say, there's no worship or liturgical element here. It doesn't say repeat this. It's telling you they're bringing, that's like if somebody was moving and I'm like, hey, you grab the furniture, grab the couch, grab the love seat, make sure you pivot when you go up the stairs. You grab the mirrors, and then I wrote about it in my blog, and you get a hold of it like, oh my gosh, that person that brought the mirror into his apartment, worshiping an ancient Egyptian deity. Do you see what I'm saying? That's what's going on here, because this text has none of the elements you need for worship, for regular ritual, for any indication it's for Yahweh like an offering. It's for the temple.
These are specific mirrors from offered to the people who were constructing the tabernacle. By the way, what is the tabernacle? What is it? Why was the tabernacle built? Was it built for just the people, like a rec center? What was it built for?
Oh, for sacrifices.
For the worship of who?
Yahweh.
Thank you. In the temple it's for the worship of Yahweh. It's for the worship of Yahweh. Nothing done in the temple is done for anything else besides the worship. So it's not something nonchalant like, well, we're constructing that over there. No, everything they did was to the worship of Yahweh. So the laver of brass was not a mirror. It was a wash basin. That's why it says the foot of it and the body it was constructed from the women's mirrors. And I just want to give some background. In ancient times, mirrors weren't glass. They were very valuable, precious metals made from gold, silver, or copper. By the way, those are made from copper. Why? Because Sarabit al-Qadim was a site of copper mining. So when you hear bronze, you're talking about where the temple of Hathor is, where by the way, I'll get to that. By the way, the temple of Hathor is where copper mining took place. It wasn't just like a temple worship. It was actually a site where copper and turquoise was mined. That's another connection, because most of that temple on the, I think it's where the wash basin was, and the outer court was copper. The inside was gold, but gold was very hard to come by. If you look at anything extra biblical, archaeological evidence shows that there was little to no gold in that region. It was mostly copper. So I digress. You were showing me something, but my answer to that is that wasn't a mirror. Mirrors weren't everywhere, and if there were mirrors there, you have to show me specifically where they were, and we're going to break down why they were there. But this particular verse says the women, it doesn't say people, it doesn't say the congregation, it says the women offered mirrors. That is a cult. With Hebrew, with Hathor, one way to worship her was to offer mirrors. I had to my phone is freezing, but I should have brought down the laptop. Wikipedia. Mirrors were another symbol for her, Hathor, because in Egypt, they were often made of gold or bronze, and therefore symbolized the sun disk, whatever. So that talks about the construction of the mirrors. However, if you look up the worship of Hathor, offering mirrors, women offering mirrors, not men, specifically women. Then you look at verse 38:8, it says women
What
offered
was the reason
mirrors.
why?
Well, you just asked earlier, what was the reason?
Because
You
the
didn't even
women
know.
had the mirrors.
Oh, only women had mirrors?
The dudes ain't real. If I know a dude and I say, hey, I get something in my beard, and the dude pulls out a pocket mirror, suspect.
That-
If
don't
a
do-
woman goes in a purse and gives
Brother,
it to
don't
me,
do that.
okay. That's exactly what's going on
But
because
okay,
the
go
women
ahead.
had the mirrors.
So men don't look in mirrors.
It's either that, or it's related to the fact that perhaps they're even crafting them for this purpose. But it's highly likely what's really going on is they're melting them down for the materials because they called for all kinds of precious metals. So
Well-
they're made from it most likely. They're not even probably staying in there.
Well,
That's almost certainly what's going on.
Great point.
So it's not as mysterious or strange as you're making it seem.
I'm not making it strange. It's totally
You're
obvious.
saying this is Egyptian worship. This is essentially copycat, some other version of Egyptian worship
Well,
to
I
a
didn't
god they're
use
not even
copycat.
mentioning.
I didn't use
How
copycat.
much honor are you giving the god if you're not even giving the god a shout out, you know?
No. First off, that's the thing. Beautiful. I'm glad you said that. The Torah isn't to worship HATHOR. The Torah
Yes,
is
sister.
to worship the new God. Remember when Moses talked to God in the bush? He said, your forefathers called me El Elyon, but I want you to start calling me Yahweh. So it was a new Kemetic monotheistic cult of Moses. And Akhenaten is extra biblical information. We don't even have to, some people don't subscribe to the Bible. So we can look outside of the Bible for all of the people, not just the believers. We can say, well, where can I find information that would correlate to this? Akhenaten, he actually is in history showing he wanted to create a monotheistic cult and he wanted to get rid of all the other gods. And another group besides the followers of Akhenaten were the Hyksos, the wonderful Hyksos. And the Hyksos, I'm just gonna finish up. The Hyksos actually wanted to worship one God, okay? And I'm still working this out, but possibly, I don't know how it ties into HATHOR, but for sure I know the Hyksos wanted to only worship Set. And that's why they were essentially driven out, because they wanted to change the worship of Amun to just the worship of Set. And so what I'm saying is, it's not going to say HATHOR in that text. It's not going to say it, but it shows, it still shows, this is where this came from. There's more than just that. I'm just starting with that. I just gave you that.
Yeah, but you failed on that point.
Okay, brother,
But let me show you this. And I'm saying that because you're acting like you proved the point, now we're going to move on. But look at this. Napah, Exodus 30. The Lord said to Moses, you shall also make a basin of bronze with its stand of bronze for washing. So this is back when you first getting the instructions.
Right.
You shall put it between the tent of meeting and the altar, and you shall put water in it, with which Aaron and his sons shall wash their hands and their feet. When they go into the tent of meeting, or when they come near the altar to minister, to burn a food offering to the Lord, they shall wash with water so that they may not die. They shall wash their hands and their feet so they may not die. It shall be a statute forever to them, even to him and his offspring throughout generations. And if you look, there's the command for certain items. Now you have Exodus 38. And it's interesting the way this is translated lets you know. He made the basin of bronze and its stand of bronze, so what they were just commanded to do, from the mirrors of the ministering women. How do you make it from it?
Well, they offered the mirrors. Wait, let me say this.
And the mirrors were not required or restricted. It's the bronze they're after.
Right.
So you're focusing on mirrors.
Okay.
The real issue is the bronze.
Got it.
And so the point falls short because it's not even about the mirrors. It's about the bronze. As you rightfully pointed out, they weren't made of glass. Excellent point. But it shows you what they were really after. The bronze. Because the two things he had to make were made out of bronze. Right. So they come and they bring them, they make it out of it. Okay. It's pretty simple, and all you got to do is cross-reference Exodus 30 with Exodus 38.
And I appreciate you doing that. Now, does that mean that the brothers, the priests couldn't see their reflections? Of course they could. They could see their reflections in the bronze laver of brass, but it wasn't a mirror to look into. And I want to get back to you saying, you read it and you act like you don't hear them saying women. It's specified women. I can go in here and find, I want to point something out. You can compare this particular construction of things being offered up, it's specified women, to the verse where it doesn't specify women, where they construct golden calf. It says women and children. It makes it broader. So this isn't, you're saying, oh, it's just bronze. Well, then if it's just bronze, are you trying to tell me that only women had bronze? No.
Nope.
That's ridiculous. Everyone had bronze, but in that verse it's saying women. Why? Because it wants to explicitly say and specifically say women offered. Why women? Because HATHOR, women offered their bronze mirrors.
Well, I don't know. I don't actually understand the point.
It's okay.
But I'm saying, how is that significant?
We're not trying to convert you. I just want to make sure you know that.
How is that significant in relationship? How's that? I love Kemet. I don't like false claims about Kemet.
Oh.
See, you guys don't understand. In the Bible, because you probably read about the plagues, you think the God of the Bible is opposed to Egypt. And maybe Hebrew Israelites gave you that impression. If you read the scriptures, Egypt is mentioned prominently, frequently, and favorably.
I said that.
But we don't need to make up stuff to boost its stats. If you hit 60 home runs, good. You don't have to lie and say it was 61. So what we see here is the wisdom of Egypt is lauded. Moses is said to have learned it. That's never been denied. And in fact, later on, part of the rationale for why Hebrews were supposed to treat foreigners properly, one Westers, make sure you notice that, is because you were also sojourners in Egypt. And what is the beginning of the Israelite story in Egypt? It's a place of refuge, it's a place of food, it's a place of protection. It was only later that it turned into something different, under different management, you might say. Then even later on, what do you have? In Isaiah, the Bible specifically mentioned Egypt as being considered God's people along with Assyria. It's right there. Then you go further into the New Testament. Where's the early church spread? Right there to North Africa. And you see in Acts 18:24-28, a man named Apollos from Alexandria. So where's that? That's Egypt. So I'm not anti-Kemetic, like you said. I'm anti-nonsensical conspiracy pulled out of your that have no factual basis theories about Kemet's influence on the Bible. That's all I'm saying. And the mirrors being melted down to make places to wash your hands has nothing to do with worship to some foreign deity.
Okay, well,
you got to find theory B. You know what I mean? We got to go to backup plan.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to read Exodus. Let's read some other verses where precious metal was offered to construct something, or just offered to, even if it was a golden calf or to the Most High Yahweh. Exodus 35. Well, let me do 32 verse 2. And Aaron said unto them, break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, your sons,
males,
your daughters.
Those are males. You said it was only women and children.
No. I didn't get this exact verse. Now I'm reading it verbatim. I said women and children, but it also does say males. You're right. So let me read it again. Exodus 32 verse 2. And Aaron said unto them, break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, your sons, of your daughters. And then verse 30, Exodus 35:22 says, and they came, both men and women, as many as were willing-hearted, and brought bracelets and earrings and rings and tablets, all jewels of gold. And every man that offered an offering of gold. That's my point. Like, that
was my point.
No.
You said it doesn't mention
You didn't
men.
let me finish.
It just mentions women and children.
No.
And I was waiting to go there because I knew men were hiding out in that text.
Okay. Well,
and now we found the men. Peekaboo. Game over.
But no, it's not game over. Actually, you don't see. It's specifying who offered. Why didn't men and children offer in Exodus 38 verse 8? Why is it only saying women? Because in the worship of HATHOR, it is only women who offered the mirrors. Why wouldn't they use the bronze of the men? Because that's not the part of the worship of HATHOR. The worship of HATHOR is the women. That is Kemetic. I can find a little bit more.
So if we find something that only men are said to do in relationship to the temple, what does that mean? And if we find a verse where men bring bronze, does your theory fail?
I'm not saying men just brought things. There's It's not about finding. I'm showing you the comparison and the close correlation between the worship of HATHOR, women offering mirrors, and the worship, which, because constructing the temple is the worship of the Most High. So I mean, that's not the only one. I mean, I've also offered the proof of Sarabit al-Qadim. That is actually the site of Mount Sinai. That's the site, and that is a temple to Hathor. So we've got the temple to Hathor, Sarabit al-Qadim. We have Kemetic worship, Kemetic priests there. We have the mining of the gold, I mean, not gold, of the copper and the turquoise, okay? And it's all done at the temple. Then we move from that, then we go, we've got the golden calf, HATHOR, because Hathor is represented as a cow-headed woman, goddess. Then we go to this verse, another part of the scriptures. We see 38:8. Women offering mirrors. There's even more information. When we look early on in Exodus, when we have the, I forgot the verse, I can get it. When we have Joseph interpreting the dreams, he sees 7 cows. In Kemet, there is a location along the Nile, a temple, and there is, in the temple, they have the 7 Hathors, the 7 cows. I mean, I know you can say.
He goes to the bathroom, comes back, and says, "Good job, sis." Okay, bro. I see you. Yeah. She's mic'd up. You got an earpiece.
I know exactly where she's going.
Baby,
Okay.
mention these 7 cows. I've got my earpiece right here.
No, I'm saying he's like, "Hey, great point. What was that?" Yeah.
Like no one will be suspicious that I brought up. Yes, got it. 7
I
cows.
mean,
But,
with it, he made
Let
the
me get
basis for the entrance of the tent, meaning the bronze altar. You know, what I did is you look up verses that say bronze, and you'll find all kinds of men with all kinds of bronze in
That's
relationship
okay.
to the tabernacle.
I'm sure you
And
do.
so your theory doesn't work because you're trying to make it about the women.
Okay.
But it's like, well, then if you have men do it, then what? Because you have men bringing bronze to the temple as
Are
well.
they bringing bronze?
and
Are they
making
bringing
things out of
mirrors?
bronze.
Are they bringing mirrors?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. In the worship of HATHOR, not to interrupt you, in the worship of Hathor, women bring mirrors. In the building worship of the Most High, women bring mirrors.
So no.
And they just happen to be at the temple of HATHOR. Let's
All
not
right.
forget that the location, Sarabit al-Qadim, is in fact the temple of Mount Sinai.
But you do know that most Italians can understand Spanish, right?
If they speak Italian, they can pick stuff up. Yeah.
Right. Why?
Romance language. Same
Right.
Latin base.
Right. So if I said, hey, Latin is the foundation of the Italian language, and you were arguing, no, it's not, because there's a couple words that tie in Spanish
I'm not.
and in Latin, doesn't mean that it's a Latin-based language. And I say, well, look, I'm just arguing that the foundation of the language is from Latin. I'm not saying that these are two of the exact same things. If you're arguing, no, it's not, it's its own thing. That's what she's saying about the mirror. The history is the women use the mirror as an offering. The foundation is Kemetic, of offering the mirror as a gift. So if I said to you, why did you use that as a gift? Why didn't you use a cup or a table or a sphere? And you said, well, we had mirrors. And I say, no, mirrors were only in the Kemetic, like there's not in Cush, there's not in Dogon, there's not in any other relationship, any other religion did anybody ever come to a temple and offer mirrors. Because in the Kemetic language, the mirror is actually highly significant because it represents you're tied to the sun, aka Ra. So they offered mirrors because they were always shaped kind of like an ankh, but also like the sun. So every ancient Hebrew mirror looks like the sun. It was literally the depiction of offering your highest praise of the sun to the temple. It was like, this is your family treasure. It's like one of the, like the evil eye. If you said, hey son, I want you to give this to another Italian, they'll know what it means. It means you're protecting them from evil, which is what that thing is around your neck, right? only people that were Italian would know that, or that had Italian friends. They couldn't come from Spain, and they couldn't come from Dogon. They couldn't be Berbers and know what that meant. Only Italians. So if then your son, who might not be fully Italian, he might be half Spanish for purpose, right? If he then went to a quinceañera and gave somebody that horn, and they said, well, now we're going to start giving horns to everybody at the quinceañera, and you say, well, that comes from Italian culture. Right. Then a generation or 50 away, somebody's going to forget that that came from Italy, and they're going to say, nope, this is a Spanish thing. We've been doing this for 50 generations. Yeah, but this is 25,000 generations old. So we were doing it first, and that's where you got it from. And that's what she's saying. Just about the mirror, I'm just saying that the relevance to you saying, why is this relevant? It's because if I am bringing a mirror to a temple, the only person that did that before you was Kemetic temples and Kemetic priests and Kemetic females. And why that is important is because in Kemet, only females brought the mirror to the temple. So the distinction of if one thing says, well, men, women, and children brought brass, however, in this one text, only women did it. There's no men, it doesn't say children, doesn't say babies, doesn't say goats, doesn't say they walked on the back of a donkey. It said women only brought mirrors. And I get what you're saying. You're saying, well, they brought the mirror so they can use it for the bronze. Also true, that horn on your neck could be made out of pure gold. And in 50 generations, kids won't care. They'll be like, this is $500 worth of gold. I don't care that it's wards off evil 50 years ago in Italy. It's gold. I'm gonna melt it down and sell it to We Buy Gold. It doesn't change the fact that the reason why it was given as a gift is because of the heritage that started in Italy. It's the same difference. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, well, so in the text, it doesn't say these are gifts. It says, say what? You're saying you want me to, okay. Yeah, but in the text, it doesn't say these are gifts. It never says that. That's something injected into the text. You guys are saying it's a gift. It never says that. It says they brought him and then they made it. So here, check out 38:8. It doesn't say gift, and it says they made the other utensils from it. So it's strictly to melt it down for the bronze. This idea of it's a gift is inserted in there by y'all.
No, they offered, they gave,
You're saying
they gifted
38:8.
to women who gave.
Who'd they give it to? Do you even know who they gave it to?
That's synonymous with gift.
Bezalel.
Let's
Bezalel
address-
is the guy who's crafting
But
it.
brother, let's address
It says
your
he's
point.
the one who made it.
Excuse me, you said it wasn't a gift.
Like this.
Offered
Okay, is that where?
is synonymous to gift, gifting. Give is synonymous to gifting. So
now if we look in context of what you just said,
Hold on, you gotta give him back the mic.
Well,
I'm sorry about that.
I don't mind. I just don't want to put it on my neck again. If you know what I'm saying, if I'm a
right.
All right, so we're looking at the text. It says 38:8. He made the basin of bronze and its stand of bronze from the mirrors of ministering women who ministered in the entrance of the tent of meeting. Okay? One, when we talk about contextual words in the Bible, we have to realize the etymology of every word. So for instance, if in the Bible it says they walked together, it is literally referencing the etymology of marriage, not just saying they're homies walking down the street, right? When they put the emphasis on ministry, that means that is of the highest caliber at this time. But if we go up one or two paragraphs or phases, 38:1 says he made the altar of burning offerings. So the context after that is about an altar. So the offering, they made the altar of offerings. And then after that, it starts talking about the basin, which is also an offering. So yeah, in your context with your text, it says the altar was burnt and made of offering. So these are offerings. And then it came from a minister. So it's not like, a cousin brought a gift or, baby mama walked down the street and was like, hey, yo, check out this mirror. It's the highest person in the community at this. The ministers of these communities had more powers than the king.
You're saying the ministry of women had more power than the king?
I'm saying ministers in this context of...
These are women who served in the temple. You got to cross reference.
No. I'm saying it.
What you're saying, you're importing into the the text. It's
No. I'm saying at this time, contextually, we can all, I mean, you might not, but we can all typically agree that at this time in the period of history, the church and ministry of any kind, it doesn't matter, religion had more contextual power than the king. Even in Kemet.
Israel didn't have a king at the time.
Okay.
Moses led them as a prophet.
Correct.
Right? No one had more authority.
Wait.
backing up what I said.
So you're saying Moses had the most authority, right?
Yeah.
Right. What was Moses?
They're giving it to Bezalel.
No. I'm just asking a simple question from what you just said. You said Moses led them. Moses wasn't a king, correct?
Yes, he was not a king. They didn't have king.
No. Okay, so we're on the same page. What was he? He was a religious figure, right? As a religious figure, right? In common speak, we can say religious figure, right?
You can say it. I'm going to say a prophet.
Okay, and a
Religious
prophet's...
figure could be lots of things, right?
No. I'm saying he is a representative of a god, right? He was your prophet. He had more power than the king, right? He took the people, any king, he took the people, Moses said unto Pharaoh, let my people go. He walked the whole country away from the king. No. I'm making a point that people of religion at this time in context had more power than the king, as Moses took a whole country away from the king, correct? This is
from the Pharaoh.
Right. Okay,
The
cool.
word minister simply means serve. That's all.
And what I'm saying
These
is
are not ecclesiastical positions.
when they represent a temple where they give offerings, that means that they either were under the king and influenced to the community.
No king, brother. You're simply.
I'm using it. No.
Concepts here.
I'm using it as contextual understanding. I'm saying that because they reviewed religious people as right under the king. In other words, I would ask the king for his permission after I went to church and talked to my whatever, your priest, your prophet, your clergy, my Moses. So in this book, when they say ministry, they're not talking about just Bob. It's not just Jim and Jack is walking up giving out mirrors. We're talking about the second or third or fifth most important person in the community behind the king.
It means, look, so I pulled up the Hebrew word here.
Okay.
So I have the Hebrew word. It's right here.
Mine.
It means to serve. This means that they're
I
serving.
thought you said you wanted
They don't have an ecclesiastical position. The priesthood in ancient Israel does not allow for women. There are not women servants in Israel. Women priests who serve.
Right. Okay. Now you got. No, wait. No. Let's not go past that point. Wait.
So
I'm with you.
You don't want to import what you know into what you don't know.
No. I don't want to go past the next point. To right now, what you just said is what she's saying. I just want you to get to with her. In Kemet, though, women are priests, and they are the highest order, like the Temple of Memphis. The priests are women. There is a head priest that ordains who can lead, but the women run the temple. And what she's saying is, what you asked was, what in this is taken from Kemet? Women, priests, giving a mirror.
Those aren't priests.
The word is minister, so we'll say the word that's, I'm only reading what's
You
here.
don't even know what I'm saying.
No. I'm not taking anything away from this. I'm saying this,
Is everyone who serves?
this is your book, right? This is,
Yes,
okay.
it certainly is.
In your,
Everyone who serves a priest.
no. I'm saying, I'm agreeing with you that I used the wrong word priest. So let's do this to your book. When I read it, it says female ministers, women ministered. And now what I'm saying is the tie.
It does not mean that.
I didn't ask what you made. I said this book, I just read
They
it.
minister, therefore they're ministers. No.
Are you debating what's written in your book?
Debating your interpretation.
I'm not interpreting anything. I just read
They're
it.
not female ministers.
I'm not interpreting anything. I'm verbatim reading from your book that you handed me. Now what I'm saying is you asked what her tie is. I'm saying the tie is that in Kemet, women ministered as priests. In Kemet, they were the ones that gave the highest offering of representation of the
That's
faith.
happening in that text.
No, it's not. However,
Melting down mirror.
no, it's not. It's not. Now use context like you're using to say that I misinterpreted this to say, if I handed somebody that horn on your neck and I said it came originally from Italy, and then I gave it to somebody at a Mexican quinceañera, because you can understand that Italians can speak Spanish, so they might get invited to a quinceañera because they understand the language. And then in 50 generations, they say, well, why do you guys give horns? Because at one quinceañera, somebody just started doing it. I don't know who it was. It maybe been Uncle Hector.
But okay.
Wait. Let me finish my point. No, I'm saying in the Christians. You're right. You're Christians. So this is what I'm saying. No. Let me finish. No. I get that. Let me finish. Let me finish. I'm gonna go. Let me finish. So I'm trying to finish my point. The end. At the end of the party, in 50 generations, or in this book, right? Because we can all say that this book came generations after these things happened, right?
No.
So you're saying they had a printing press in Egypt. You're saying that they had a book that could be printed in Egypt. I'm asking you. I said this book came generations after, correct?
No.
The printing press was not invented until how many years after Christ had died? The physical book, yes. Correct. Okay, great. So that is.
I thought you meant the Bible.
No, I said this book.
I think Moses had my Bible.
I said this book was printed generations after. I also said in.
You didn't say printed. You did not say printed. If you would have said printed, then I would have said yeah. Not
Okay, great. Now let's get back to context. The book came or was printed. We'll use came. Printed came, just as if in the context of giving your necklace to somebody 50 generations later. They say, how is this? Even in this book, when it's referencing what happened, this is generations and generations and generations after Egypt. Can we agree on that?
What do you mean generations after Egypt?
Egypt spanned 25,000 generations. What generation do you think this book is referencing, in your own opinion?
What do you mean after Egypt?
I'm saying 25,000 generations.
Are you saying Israel was established after Egypt? That's true, yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
It's not a debatable point. The Bible literally records that.
I'm not debating it. I'm saying that if this book says that Egypt came after, right, or came prior, and this came after, and you do a ritual that had existed 25,000 generations before.
In that text.
I'm not saying they are. I'm saying, let me rephrase it for you. Bob says that something existed 25,000 years prior. Jan then comes 50,000 years after that and says, oh, this came from those people. And you say, no, it didn't. And I say, well, it's 25,000 years prior, so how would that thing precede this thing if this thing is 25,000 years older than it? That is like me saying, Jesus is older than Ra. And you'd be like, what? Ra is 25,000 years before Jesus, so how would Jesus be older than Ra if we can prove that Jesus came after him? Because the same book he's in says Jesus came after Ra. So you can't then use the context of, well, this thing might not have happened if this is prior to this, even though this thing says that the only people that did it in context before you, just like the horn, are the Italians. So the Spanish can no longer take that as an argument. What she's saying is that prior to this, the Kemetics were the only ones that did this act of giving mirrors in a temple. Now, it could have been changed just slightly. It could have been miscued because it's 25,000 years, generations off. Just like your necklace. In 50 generations.
You're the same analogies. You're just repeating yourself at this point. Check this out. No, none of you have been able to show me the earliest example of when mirrors were supposedly given.
Oh, you want me to pull it
No one,
on my phone?
and so what we need to see is when this happened first. Then you have to see if it's even similar. But the thing is, it tells you why they're bringing there for the bronze. So all the stuff you're saying is simply not there. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that this is the first time you've heard this argument. You haven't looked into any of the background, and you think it's a valid argument already. You know what I mean? There's no word study going on. There's nothing else about any of that. They're melting down items for bronze. Mirrors weren't the only thing that were brought. If you read the beginning, they brought all kinds of materials. They needed, I think it was like 3.5 tons. So it's not just mirrors. They brought all kinds of things. In this particular place, it says how they got this particular item. But if you read it, it tells you from the mirrors. from the mirrors. So that's the source. That's
So
the
you're
source.
saying nobody else in the history of mirrors, men, no children, no old men, it specifically categorized women bringing mirrors to a temple for whatever reason. It only categorized the women. But everything else always says men, women, children, dogs.
Everything else. Brother, have you read Exodus? It doesn't always say. Well, you're wrong. It doesn't always say that.
So
it doesn't always say everything else.
She's asking,
Why
does it only classify women as it does in the Kemetic culture in that specific text that you referenced?
Because the women are the one who brought the mirrors. Because the women are the one who brought the mirrors. Because the women are the one who brought the mirrors. Else.
She's asking,
There's,
why does it only classify women as it does in the Kemetic culture in that specific text that you referenced?
Because the women are the one who brought the mirrors.
And that's what she's saying.
Yeah, but that doesn't prove anything. The women brought mirrors.
Okay.
All right, come on. Go ahead.
Okay, so good. Thank you. Great information that the brother brought up. I just want to, you're laughing, but I want to read.
I'm just surprised how easily convinced you guys are.
Okay, well,
It's clear you want to see the Bible a certain way. So anything, you will literally find the word mirror and say, look, it's the same thing. No one does that. We recognize legitimate parallels with Egypt. These invented ones where you see a word and try to and put a whole bunch of stuff into it, it's craziness.
Okay, first off,
that's why no one takes it. No one thinks that's a legit. Even people who think that
you're only speaking for yourself.
Hebrew.
So when you say no one,
Hebrew religion,
we have 1, 2, 3. I don't know about the other 3 people.
If you're really going to prove this,
no, but let me say this.
What you need to do is you need to study the language. You need to do way more than I found the word mirrors.
I'm not some airhead. Let me say this. I'm a Christian. I'm a Hebrew Israelite. I believe in the Most High. So you're saying I'm trying to find this. No, I actually saw it. Once I started studying Kemet, my jaw dropped. It was, I can't even describe how awestruck I was. It set me on another course emotionally. I was like, wait a minute. So let me read about what I'm studying. I'm a novice in Kemet. But I found out about HATHOR, who is HATHOR, as a Christian, as a Bible believer. This is on Ancient Egypt Online. And it talks to us about the goddess HATHOR, who is also known as HATHOR. So let's talk about the mirrors, and then I want to go into the 7 cows. Okay. HATHOR was the goddess of beauty, a patron of the cosmetic art, Her traditional votive offerings were 2 mirrors, and she was often depicted on mirrors and cosmetic palettes. Now, there's the information that can't be ignored. We're talking about ancient holy texts of the Torah, and we're talking about the religion, how they say we're set apart, we don't do anything that the pagans do, stay away from the pagans. But then we see, as the brother eloquently broke down, thank you, and agrees with me, we see that this is women offering mirrors. We've already presented information showing other parts of the text where it says men, children, women, but this is specifically women. We've covered this a lot, and we spent a lot of time on this. We can come back to it, but I want to throw some more in the mix into the double Dutch. Okay, I'm laughing because it's just, I don't know. I don't want to upset anybody who believes in the Bible.
No one's upset. I think most people are shocked how easy it is to convince people who want to see the Bible as essentially Kemet 2.0 or something.
See, that's where I have to jump in. No, well, you can't say that because I was talking.
Okay.
I don't want to see it as Kemet. I don't know if you heard me say that I'm a Bible believer. I don't know if you heard me say that He was telling me, you're going to go into Kemet. I was like, he's like, you're going to turn away from the Bible. I'll never turn away from the Bible. So I didn't want to see Kemet. Kemet is there. You just admitted that Moses was learned in every aspect of Kemet. And that's for a good 40 years.
What that shows is, though, Napah, Christians who study this recognize the facts. We're not denials. We're not in denial about the reality of it. We don't like when, especially from non-scholastic places where there's no linguistic study that took place, there's nothing else looked at. It's just, look, I found the word mir.
What do you mean there's no linguistic study?
You didn't know any of the Hebrew words in the text. You didn't have access to them.
Yes, I did. I did have access to it. Just like you don't speak Hebrew.
I didn't say I speak Hebrew.
No, but you know how to look at. You know how to look at.
Yes, I do.
And so do I.
And so if you're
I looked up the Hebrew. No, it's interesting that you haven't even asked.
It's not a scholastic theory because there's no development to it. You're literally asserting everything.
No.
If it's
Hebrew,
then you need to do a better job of proving the point.
I am proving the point.
We recognize where the things are and aren't afraid of it. We don't deny
Show
it.
me where.
And there's a whole scholastic trail, especially in relationship to something like the wisdom literature of Egypt. We affirm the reality. You're over-affirming. It's overstating a case.
That's your opinion.
Because
let me tell you why it's your opinion. What you're saying is you're actually admitting that Kemet is in the Bible.
No, I'm admitting. I'm telling you.
Yes.
You didn't have to admit it. I remember who brought it out. I brought it out. What do you mean Kemet's in the Bible? How could anyone read the Bible and not know Kemet's in the Bible?
Okay, thank you. So we have you saying Kemet is there.
Napah, this is not the first time I've said this to you.
No, and I agree.
It's not a new thing. I always say this.
So if we actually have you acquiescing to the fact that Kemet is present, how can you dare say that that is not Kemetic?
Oh, my goodness.
And wait,
that's a logical fallacy. This is a logical fallacy. If Kemet's in one place, it's not in every place.
You haven't even examined it thoroughly. You haven't even. This is the first time it's been presented to you. But you're asserting it's not there. And this is so unscholastic. And you notice someone else said the same thing. Someone else just now.
Yeah, I said here's the Hebrew word.
So there you go. He just took 45 minutes to look into it.
Did you even know that for example, that those ministering women are referenced again in 1 Samuel? You didn't even know that.
Okay, first off,
you were mistaken about the other
examples. You didn't
examples.
ask me if I know it. You're telling me I don't know it. So we see where you're coming from. You didn't ask me anything.
I asked you lots of things.
No.
I asked you, for example.
all you did was. I
asked you plenty of things. I asked you if
you
knew
didn't.
the context of the passage. I asked you if you knew the man who was making the things, because he keeps on using the pronoun in the English of he. Who is it? Who is the he they're bringing it to? His name's kind of tricky to pronounce. Belaziel. He's the one crafting the stuff. Yeah.
Bezalel.
He's the one, which I already said, he's the one crafting the stuff. So we know what's going on. They're bringing it to him so he can craft more stuff.
But you said I'm using logical fallacies. You're using a red herring. Who cares who crafted it? The context of we're discussing the women offering mirrors. Now, we can move on to the 7 Hathors. You can examine that a little bit more. But for you to sit here and say, I'm trying to insert it, it's not scholastic, that is reminiscent to me of someone else, Sonnetter, who is a Bible believer and just right away said, that's not scholastic, that's not a scholarly statement. You haven't even thoroughly.
Hold up, Napah.
No, it's okay.
Did I say that right away?
You took about 30, 45 minutes to look at it.
So don't say I said it right away. I said it at the end of looking at the matter with you together.
No.
You're acting like I had a knee-jerk reaction.
No, it's okay.
I said it at the end of looking at the matter with you.
Right.
After we examine it together, it is clear you're drawing something based upon a word, and then your fallacy is, oh, look, vocab admits Kemet's here, therefore Kemet is everywhere?
No.
Okay.
You admit that Kemet is there.
So it's one place doesn't mean it's in every place, okay?
But you're waiting for someone else to find it besides Napah. You're waiting for, this is the facts. You're waiting for someone to sit down, and we can all collectively get together and speak on it more. But for you to say, oh, I've examined it 45 minutes, but it's okay, you're not going to agree with it.
Napah,
fine, we can move forward.
I'm not waiting for you, because if you remember earlier in the conversation, I rattled off about 5 or 6 things of Egypt in the Bible from the top of the head. I'm not waiting for you to do this. Okay. So you're mischaracterizing a lot of my arguments here.
Okay, sorry. Then forgive me. Let me ask you some questions. What was your reasoning about the laver of brass being created.
Oh, to wash. It's for ritual cleansing.
Got it. Did you say there were mirrors in the temple?
The mirrors are brought to melt down for the items. If in the beginning of the conversation, if I said there were mirrors, because I mentioned the fixtures and furniture, I never said there was mirrors everywhere.
You did, but if you want to take that back, that's
I did
fine.
say there was furniture and the fixtures.
And
As far
mirrors. You
as-
said mirrors.
There's nowhere in the Bible where it says there was mirrors
Thank
like
you.
all up in it. I never clarified when I said there was furniture and the fixtures. Later on, I said it was for melting down.
No, you said there were mirrors in other places. That's what you said. But I understand
I
that
don't know, but that's not
you needed
what
to
I
fully
would,
examine it.
That's not what I would be saying. That's not what I think. I don't think it's the case that
Okay,
there's
well,
mirrors everywhere in the temple.
We know there were no mirrors anywhere in the temple.
Well, there's none
Not-
mentioned, but we don't necessarily know there's none in there.
Could there have been a reflection, the laver of brass, of course, polished, burnished to where it would give a
there are none
reflection?
mentioned.
Yes.
You are correct. There are none mentioned as being a fixtures in there. That's
Okay,
true.
great. So what is the significance of mentioning in the holy text mirrors? Going back to, I forgot your name. Mfalme?
It's the item.
Going back to what Mfalme was
the item
saying.
that had the bronze in it.
See, that's the problem.
Why is that a problem?
That's not the only item that had bronze.
I never said that. Remember I
Well-
mentioned they needed several tons of bronze? I specifically said that. The mirrors weren't the only thing they brought there. So if you do a study on bronze, especially in the book of Exodus, you'll find there's a whole bunch of stuff they need. It's not
Right.
just the bronze mirrors. And there's other stuff mentioned.
Right. So let me say this again. If we know there was bronze present,
Yeah.
copper, we know they were actually at a site where copper was mined. So there were copious amounts of copper. We can assume that because it was a copper mining site. Why would they have to specify that the mirrors were offered instead of saying the women gave bronze?
Because the bronze is in the form of the mirror.
That's not good enough.
Okay, let's do that
Because the
then.
word
Napah.
mirrors is-
Let's do that, Napah. Why did they specify it was earrings that they gave to melt
Okay,
down for
because-
the golden calf?
Right.
Why did it specify it was their jewelry?
Right.
Is there some special significance you're going to draw?
Would you
My
like
gue-
to- would you
my
like to
guess
find that
is
out?
That you probably would, but no one else would follow along with you. We recognize the real places Kemet is, but we don't have to invent them. So do you believe that the earrings are mentioned also for some religious significance?
I believe that the gold in the earrings.
Okay,
I believe.
exactly. That's the
I'm
point
trying to
about the
finish. I'm
mirrors.
trying to tell you.
I'm saying that's the same point.
I'm trying to finish.
Okay.
You said why was it specified earrings? Because it's telling us that gold was in small amounts. It was not in copious amounts. If you know extra biblical information about archaeological the site, you know that gold was not in large amounts. I know the people probably had bracelets and earrings, and that's all the gold. I know, and that's all the gold they have. I'm wrapping it up. He asked me a question. That's all the gold they had. Knowing the site is a copper mining site and seeing the text, there doesn't have to be a mention of mirrors. They could have said copper was offered. But Sonnetter wants to go on and move on. This is important because when we hear mirrors today, look around, they're everywhere. They're not of any type of value really. But in ancient times, they were made from precious metals.
You know, mirrors are mentioned in Isaiah too. I'm looking it up right now.
Okay.
And it's interesting. Isaiah is warning about what's going to happen to Jerusalem. And he mentions a bunch of things that, that they're like into, that they're basically going to lose. And it says, look what it says here. Daughters of Zion. And then he lists all these objects of finery. Mirrors, linen garments, turbans, tiaras, shawls. And then says this in Isaiah 3:24. Instead of fragrance, there will be a stench instead of a sash, a rope instead of a well-dressed hair, baldness instead of fine clothing, sackcloth instead of beauty, branding. So it shows the connection that when you do see it mentioned, it's not in some ritualistic, way. That's why you don't see this ever practiced again in Israel. Israel did have rituals. Bringing mirrors to God was not one of them. That's why the only place you can find it is in relationship to the construction of the temple. And it says what it was for. They used it for other items because they needed like 3 tons or so of bronze. If what you're saying is true, you should at least have one other place where they're doing it, that they don't. Because it's not a ritual that they practice. They brought it one time during, isn't it ironic the one place you go to, it's when they were trying to get bronze to melt down for other items in the temple? That has to make you say, oh, well, let me revisit that, because why does that happen to be in a place where they're constructing a temple? That's the only place it is.
Okay.
That has to mean something. I would think you would say, oh, let me back off that.
No, I'm not going to back off of it, but Sonetter doesn't want to keep talking about it.
I guess.
I mean, what you even just read shows more toward the worship, the way women worshipped at Heru. Because if you read it again, it's talking about beauty. It's talking about what the goddess represented. And it's saying you're going to be punished. So you're not going to be beautiful. You're going to be ugly. You're going to smell bad. You're not going to have all these great things. Which mirrors were a part of the list of tiaras. Yeah. Linen was very expensive, and mirrors. So it's saying your punishment will be this. You're going to be the opposite, but it still shows.
That is what it's saying. You just inserted the word goddess in there.
No, I'm not inserting.
You said goddess. You
listen,
said goddess.
I'm showing you the correlation. I'm talking about the, you can't deny, you said it, there's occult Kemetic worship foundation in that Bible. Now, when you bring up that verse, and then I'll wrap it up, King. When you bring up that verse, all you're saying to me is, look, they're going to be punished. How? They're not going to be beautiful anymore.
Lose their fancy stuff.
Not
their objects of worship.
In the worship of Heru, beauty, makeup, sweet smelling, everything. So that doesn't go against it.
So wait, so anytime you see the stuff associated with women, you're going to just make it be about Heru?
No. You brought up mirrors. That's why, yes, anytime you see mirrors in there, I'm going to find it. And I'm going to examine it. Wait a minute.
Okay.
I'm going to use exegesis in the Bible. And I'm going to sit there and be very objective and see that it is, if it is linked to the goddess. And that right there doesn't go far away from the worship of Heru. Heru, beauty, makeup, cosmetics, mirrors. You just read a verse that said, my punishment is you're not going to be beautiful. You're not going to smell good. You're not going to have mirrors. Thank you. So can we move on?
Out there, these theories are. When you talk about the wisdom literature tradition in relationship to Kemet and Hebraic, there's whole books on that topic.
Right.
It's recognized. The stuff y'all are saying right now is like on the verge of crazy talk. It's not a good point.
Why is it crazy talk?
The reason no one thinks it is because the points I just brought up. If you want to find it, you literally said, I'll find the parallel. You just told me you're going to Inspector Gadget the text. Okay.
No, you Inspector Gadget the text, Mr. Apologetic.
No.
Apologetics for the Bible.
You're gonna tweak it, or no matter where it is. That's what you just said. Yeah, I never mirrors. I never thought that was an important topic.
Well,
it was important.
You heard what the brother said about Kemet. You know that mirrors are important. You learned something. Mirrors weren't just like glass. They were made out of precious metal. Why are you scoffing at that?
Because you're repeating everything, and it was about the bronze, not about the mirrors.
But mirrors were mentioned, and so were women.
Because the mirrors are made of bronze.
No, that's not why.
Oh, they weren't?
No, I'm not saying that. That's not why the women offering mirrors.
It doesn't say what you're saying.
And that's why I know.
Napah.
We're going to go to the next one. So, mirrors, women offering. Kemetic goddess Hathor.
Offering
mirrors,
is not in
women
there.
offering.
Goddess is not
Exodus
in there.
38:8. I'm done.
Wow.
So let's move on to.
Let me know when you get a journal article on that.
Brother, I don't look outside of myself. I find my connection.
What?
I don't.
You think that's a good thing?
No, I do. No, listen.
That's a recipe for foolishness.
No, listen. I love when I find people who agree. Or no, you do too. Let's be serious.
I love when I find people who agree with me.
You didn't even let me finish my statement.
Come on, I got to review on that. My goodness.
I like what you're doing, but it's not going to work.
on the same level.
He didn't let me finish because
You know what I like, Napah?
I wasn't even finished with my sentence.
Okay.
I love when I find people who agree that there is evidence of Kemet in the Bible after they examine it scholastically, like this gentleman here, like other people. But
Everyone already agrees with
listen.
that. Everyone already agrees with that, though.
honey,
Everyone already agrees with that.
But-
we don't agree with the stuff you're saying.
no, you're not gonna. No, son, that I have
There's
to do
whole
this.
books on it.
You
No, I'm
keep
saying
on.
it can be
This
in the
is
Bible.
a tactic, honey.
Great stuff right here. Check
King,
it out.
this is a tactic, and we're gonna, and I guess what? I'm gonna ride until you stop saying your craziness.
No, I didn't
What
say
about
you're
your
crazy.
craziness believing
said-
that Jesus is real?
No, I didn't say.
Okay.
Well, I'm down to
What
talk.
about your craziness believing that Moses parted the Red Sea? What about your craziness that you believe all these things? That doesn't feel so good, does it?
I've been out in the street. I'm
guess what?
fine.
No. See, you just did. I just did what you did.
I didn't
now
say.
you're gaslighting.
I didn't say you crazy.
You
Those
were saying me.
Those ideas are definitely crazy.
Listen, and guess
And-
what?
and the
I'm a
reason I-
Christian, but when you
The
say
reason I
you're
do
craziness,
that is to
but
bring
anyway,
to bear the fact is it's
Anyway.
convincing to you, but it's not going to be convincing outside of your circle. You know?
no, it is. It is. It is.
So
Go ahead.
I just have one question. So if her saying that one of the most important icons that is recognized, we're saying that it's documented how important mirrors were to Kemet, and bringing the correlation is crazy. What sounds crazier? You go to a room, eat a piece of flesh from a dead guy, and drink his blood. That doesn't sound crazy?
Who does that?
That's what sacrilege is, right? You go and drink
What's
the blood of
sacrilege?
Christ.
Sacrament.
Sacrament. You go and drink the blood of Christ, and you eat a piece of flesh.
It's first communion.
And
It's
I'm
communion.
asking
Are you under the impression I'm a Roman Catholic?
No, I'm asking,
Okay.
does that sound crazy to you?
I'm not a Roman Catholic, so it's not something
I'm
I
not
believe.
asking if you are. I'm just asking, does what I just said sound
Yeah,
crazy?
cannibalism is forbidden.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so I'm not into
there's
that.
there's a whole group of people that believe.
What?
There's a whole group of
Oh yeah, you
people-
think? Oh yeah, I forgot about this.
There's a whole group of people that follow the book that believe in that, right?
Well, that's
crazy
actually that's
too.
not exactly what they believe. So I understand what they believe. It's not called sacrilege; it's called sacrament. What they believe is it's Aristotelian. They believe that the bread is still actually bread, so they call that the accidents, the things that it happens to be essentially on the outside.
Wait, stop.
Substance
Wait.
Or the essence.
I
of
don't mean to
it
interrupt.
is
Is he talking about
changed.
Catholicism?
Yeah, because
No, I was
what I'm-
born and raised Catholic. They don't believe the bread is bread. They believe it's the
literally
flesh of
what-
Jesus.
No,
They
that's
literally put it on your
Yes, they believe it's the flesh of
no,
Jesus.
but I'm explaining to you the way they actually talk about it.
No.
They
Go
do
ahead.
not believe they're eating actual flesh.
Yes, they do.
No, let me.
No, you're playing with words.
I'm not playing
They
with
believe
words.
they're eating
I've
the
read-
body
I've read
and flesh of
Aquinas,
Jesus. But I was
and
raised Catholic.
Okay, well, have you
This
read
is the
Aquinas?
body of Jesus.
Have you read
And
Aquinas?
if you don't
Yes.
say amen, you can't receive it.
I'm not saying you're missing what I'm saying. They do believe when the priest says basically magic words that it turns into the body of
Thank
Jesus.
you.
That's what I was going to say.
You weren't saying
Cut
that.
me off because I'm
Oh, I'm
trying
sorry.
to show you that your guys' critique of a lot of religions outside yours
No, I'm not
is
critiquing it at
sort
all.
of super.
You misunderstand.
No, you definitely did. You said, "Well, doesn't that sound crazy?"
No.
But
You just said it.
I'm not
asking you.
I'm
said
not
cannibalism
Catholic,
is
number
crazy.
one, but you're not even fully understanding their position is what I'm saying.
Okay, so are you saying cannibalism is cool now?
No, that's not the way they view it, though. But cannibalism is outlawed in Scripture. So, no, I don't think cannibalism is good or anything like
What I'm
that.
saying is you can see how one person not in your faith.
Yes, but these aren't religious practices. We're talking about matters of linguistics and academia here, right?
Right, but I'm
You see what I'm saying?
The Kemetic faith, academically, you can see on the wall in the hierarchy, you can see that this is a prominent thing. And in your book, you can also see somebody saying, I have to consume, or in a version of the religion, consume the flesh of a man and his blood. And if I take the context out of it, that just sounds crazy.
Yeah, even in
However, what I'm saying is why is something that is not that, not consuming, but now you have a tie to it and say, well, I can see why the offering would be symbolized in this section over here because they did it only in Kemet before this. And you're saying, well, they were bringing it because the offering was to be smelted down.
yeah, it's not an offering. And well, it's not an offering in the sense of like, here's this, it's for something else, for another purpose.
Right. But the only person that ever brought that type of offering to the church was
Church. Why don't we?
to wherever they bring it to.
But in Kemet, they're not melting it down.
No, they're offering it to the temple
Right.
for whatever the temple needs.
Right. So you don't see the massive difference there?
If the temple,
One's for the construction, one's for regular religious practice.
Okay, so I'll match you one there, and you may know this or may not. I don't ever say what somebody doesn't know. Do you know what the ram head coin is?
Uh-oh.
Okay, you should Google it. What it was when Alexander the Great took over Egypt and he conquered it, he took all the metal from the temples of Memphis, the temples all across the country, and he basically smelted them down and created these coins. He would have smelted down bronze, he would have smelted down silver, he would have smelted down their mirrors, because he didn't believe what they believed, but he went to every temple with a sword and melted down their precious metals and created the most valuable coin almost in the history of the world. It's called the Alexander Ramhead coin. He went with a sword to all of the temples and he said, I want you to ordain me the Pharaoh. And every temple except the temple in Memphis said we can't. It's only something that God can do. And the female priest at the temple of Memphis, in fear for their life, said, oh wait, God just sent me a sign when you put your sword to my neck, Alexander. You're the Pharaoh. And to ordain it, he had them smelt all of their metals and basically protested the other one saying that he couldn't be. And he made a coin called the Alexander Ramhead coin. And it's a coin with him posing on the coin as Alexander in Ra form. He's posing as Ra, the son of Ra, which is what the literal translation of the Pharaoh was. So in your own example, see, he melted down mirrors. So even though the mirrors might have got there because the priest brought them his offering at one time, even Alexander melted them down because he conquered Egypt and used their metal to make his own coffers. It doesn't change the fact that if I say the only people that have ever brought mirrors as offerings to the church for whatever reason, to melt them down for Alexander or to melt them down for whatever 25,000 years later.
You know what's funny? And we're going to get to 7 counts. I'd love to hear a Christian, well, I'm a Christian, say you guys when usually, I think that's what you're doing. You're getting us back. You're like, you guys are so crazy because you're so used to hearing that all the time. So let me get to the 7 cows.
If you notice, I agreed with you almost every place I could.
And I appreciate you agreeing with me.
Wherever I could, I agree with you.
So much.
But I'm not a yes man, so when you're wrong, you're wrong.
No, see, Genesis, wait.
My point was I'm not getting you back.
No.
I'm just trying to get you back on track.
All right. Genesis 41, please.
Oh, so we're going from mirrors to cows. All right.
We're already on cows because remember the goddess Hathor Heteru is a cow-headed goddess, and she's the goddess of let's see the scorecard. Mount Sinai, Serbid al-Qadim, where the temple of Hathor is. There was a cow goddess or idol created there. We've got the mirrors that you say have nothing to do with the women offering the mirrors, which is also in the worship of Heteru Hathor. And now we're moving on to the 7 cows. Okay, when you're there, let me know in Genesis.
I'm in Genesis 41, yeah.
Okay, so that whole chapter is about the Pharaoh having dreams, and he needs somebody to interpret it. And Joseph comes in and he tells the future, fortune telling, future telling. In Kemet, oh, I lost it, y'all. Dang. In Kemet, Heteru, I'll get the information. Hathor is represented as a goddess in a temple. I'll get specific, but I'm going to give you the breakdown. There are 7 cows in the temple along the Nile, and these 7 cows are the goddesses of fortune telling. 7 cows, fortune telling, Hathor. Genesis, 7 cows, future told, basically the fortune, future. So let's see what you have to say about that. Before you do, let me just read it specifically so I can give this information and everybody. So, okay, 1 second. Okay, where is it?
And then after that, will I be able to ask you guys a question?
Sure.
You can ask me anything you want. You might not like the answer though.
Here it is. Okay, Hathor. This is again from just random, ancient Egypt online. She, Hathor, occasionally took form of the 7 Hathors who were associated with fate and fortune telling. It was thought that the 7 Hathors knew the length of every child's life from the day it was born. You know, it's talking about what, you know, the future predictions. The prediction that she did. Her priests could read the fortune of a newborn child, act as oracles like Joseph, to explain the dreams. Oh, wait a minute. He interpreted dreams. To explain the dreams of people. I don't see how he's going to say this. Can you please, do you want me to read Genesis?
Let him read it. Let him read it.
Okay.
Well, no, read it and tell me what your argument is, though.
You need to stop. I can't.
What's the argument, I'm saying?
Let me read this again. Let me read about Hathor again. Hathor took the form of 7 Hathors. And there was a temple along the Nile where those 7 cows, it's called the 7 Hathors. 7 cow goddesses were represented along the Nile in a temple. She took the form of 7 Hathors who were associated with fate and fortune telling. It was thought that the 7 Hathors knew the length of every child's life from the day it was born to the day, you know, to question the dead souls as they traveled to the land of the dead. Her priests, talking about Hathor, could read the fortune of the newborn child and act as oracles to explain dreams of people. That chapter says, who can explain this dream? I had a dream of 7 cows. Can somebody please tell my priest to go find this guy who can explain this dream and tell us the future? Now, please tell me how you're going to say that doesn't correlate with this.
I'm saying, what's the argument, though?
It's not an argument.
Well, the argument, so like, what if you had to put it in a syllogism? Major premise, minor premise, conclusion. Like, what are you saying?
This is one of the points that I'm making, that Hathor, Het-Heru, is a god that is, it's a cult. Obviously, it's hidden because there has to be on this exoteric information, not esoteric, exoteric information. Hey guys, we just worship one guy. You got one God. Because we only worship one God. We're monotheistic now. But under the surface, they never stopped venerating these Kemetic gods that you say they have so many of. So there's never been a change. When you say what's the point? I've already shown you Seraphit al-Kadim, copper mined at the temple of Het-Heru, the golden calf, Het-Heru, Hathor, the mirrors of the women given to the temple, Het-Heru, mirrors offered in worship. Now I'm on the 7 cows, 7 Hathors, dream interpretation, fortune telling, 7 cows. That's in the Bible.
This is from 53. I am the horned bull who rules the sky, Lord of celestial appearings, the great illuminator who came forth from the heat, who harnesses the years. The double lion is glad. When the movement of the sunshine has been granted to me, I detest what is detestable. I will not eat feces. I will not drink urine. I will not walk head downward. Now,
okay.
This is clear. It's not about cooking anything. The dude is literally concerned he's going to have to drink piss in the afterlife. Someone please explain to me why Kemetic cats of old were worried about eating doo-doo and drinking pee-pee after they died. So much so that they spent their money while they were alive making texts that mentioned not doing it multiple times. Now, can you answer from this source?
Got it. You see, you asked a question. Why were the Kemetic writers writing about a god, right? Why were they preoccupied with eating poop and drinking urine. Even though we agree that in the text they say, I don't want to do it. Let me get another verse out of the Bible. 2 Kings, verse 18. Chapter 18, verse 27. You know where I'm going. I'm going to read the New International Version. But the commander replied, was it only to your master and you that my master sent me to say these things, and not to the people sitting on the wall, who like you will have to eat their own excrement and drink their own urine?
Yes, so